In this demonstration, we are going to introduce you to our system installation CD, show you how to prepare your PC for use of the USI script file functionality, and installation of software applications that you may be using. Now, everything that we will be going over here can be found in the Systems Installation Guide, which is on the manual CD. You should have received a manual CD along with the system CD, or you might have both of those zipped on the system CD. In any case, if you haven't received it, you can go to our website and you'll find our manuals under the support section behind a customer login, and you'll need to email customer service at Utah Scientific in order to get a login for that. So go ahead and place your CD in your system, and when it comes up, you're going to see a name of the zip file for your system CD. Now, it may have your call letters on it, or it may have a system CD name such as this one, or it may actually show the version on here. It just depends on how you requested it, or if it came with an actual sales order. And in any case, they are all the same. We zip these files up because they're rather large, and we can put multiple zip files on a CD if we need to. So when you get it open here, right-click on it, go down to Extract All, and then click on the Next, and it will ask you where you'd like to extract this to. I'm going to just extract it to this exact location that I'm in, but you can actually browse anywhere on your network and extract it there, and it will unzip all three of these items that you're going to see. Now, this could take several minutes depending how much information we've actually placed on the CD. Now, once it has completed, it will ask you to allow you to see them or not, and just click on Finished. And you'll get to see the folder that we're going to be talking about here and the location that it's in. Now, I'm going to close mine since my system CD is in the same location that I extracted it. And I'm going to go ahead and delete my zip file because I don't need it any longer. So you can opt to keep yours or go ahead and delete it. And now I have the extracted CD on my location. Now, if you go ahead and open that CD, you're going to see three items in here. The first thing that I'm going to talk about is just this toc.txt file. Right-click on that, and now this is something that's kind of tricky. Sometimes I've seen this open in Notepad, other times in WordPad, and it depends on your system. So if you open it in one or the other, and it does not show you everything, then go back and open it again with the other one. It's just a text file. Last time I opened mine was in WordPad, so it's going to open up with everything that you're seeing here on the screen. Now, what the toc.txt file is a release version sheet of all of the products that you're going to find on this system CD. So you'll see all the USI system installation releases for all of the different products that we support for master control and routers. So all of our SC4, our software versions that go with those, all of the master control product lines. Okay, and if you scroll down, you'll actually see a list of the individual versions right down here. So each one of these will have the it will have its own name right here, such as the SD 2020, and its version line right below it. And this will show you the current release version of your particular device. And that goes for everything that you see in that list right down. So if you wanted to look up the Yukon version of software for the SC4, then you'll see the Yukon version and its actual current release that's on this CD. Now, for any particular product that you have that shows up on this list and you want to look at the version on here, all of the hardware versions that you see here are very simple to check, and they all use pretty much the same command. I don't know of anything here that I'm looking at from the SC4 up that you cannot do this command with. So what you're going to do is literally launch your TerraTerm software if you're already running. Now, this is assuming that you've already got all of this stuff and you haven't installed any of the software, or I'm sorry, you have the software installed already on your CD and you can look at this. If you haven't, then come back to this later, and this will be how you'll check the versions down the road of the system stuff and information that you have. Okay, so you're going to actually go to your to your TerraTerm application, which in this case, here's mine. You'll log into your particular device, whatever the IP address is of that device. You can telnet in. There's another demonstration that you can go through to actually watch serial connections and how you would connect via any one of the serial ports. But from here, all you'll do is literally put in the IP address of your device. Mine happens to be an SC4. Click OK, and it will go to a command shell prompt here. And at the prompt, you'll type in the letters MEM, and these are short for memory. And then you'll hit return, and you'll get a double right arrow. And at the double right arrow prompt, you'll type in the letter B, which is short for bootloader address or version. When you hit return, then you'll see two partitions in most cases, partition 1 and a partition 2. And when it boots up, when each one of the devices boot up, they actually use partition 1. So you're going to be looking for a version line right here. And then you're going to compare this version line with the version line found in that toc.txt file. Then just type the letter Q to get out, and then exit, to literally exit out of here. Okay, and then that will show you the versions, and in this case, that version said it was a 190 pound number, whatever, and that means I'm behind one version here. So then I would proceed with this system installation CD and upgrading to this version. Okay, so let's go ahead and close the toc.txt file and explain to you how the rest of this CD works. You've got two other folders here that you will be using for, in many cases, for just retrieving information, viewing it, but in some cases you may really want to be doing upgrades to your system, and we'll talk about that in another training video. But for now, the next item that we'll talk about here is the PC prep. Now, go ahead and double click on your PC prep, and you're going to notice that there's a batch file called PC prep, but there are three folders here. Now, there are three things that happen when you run this PC prep batch file. The first thing that happens is that it installs the NFS and TerraTerm software. And I'm not sure which order that has changed in the past, but most likely it'll install the NFS server first, then it will install the TerraTerm, and then the third thing that it does is it creates a folder on your C drive called USI. So let's navigate to the USI folder, and actually let's just do a Explorer, and you'll see on the C drive that I don't have a USI folder. I've got a 1 and a 2 and a other stuff that I've put in here. But what I'm going to show you is that once this PC prep completely runs, it will install that on the C drive as well. So with that said, go ahead and double click on PC prep.bat, and actually in this case it looks like it's going to install the TerraTerm Pro first. So you'll just literally click on all of the defaults that you find here. Unless your language is another language that's found in here, just press continue. And continue, and it will place it right in program files under TerraTerm. So we'll continue, and it will walk through just a few steps here, and it should already place a copy of TerraTerm Pro's shortcut out on the desktop. So we'll go ahead and close this, and this is just saying that please read the README text for usage of it. We'll click OK there. Now, when it finishes here, it says to wait until TerraTerm Pro is finished installing, and then press any key to continue. So we'll press that now. It will go out and install the NFS server. Now I'll explain both of these as soon as they are completed. But again, on the NFS, you're going to just walk through the default. You don't need to put a username and a company name. And it'll put it in program files under LabTam Pro NFS. You just want a typical installation. It will use the accessories folder, and then when it completes, the very last thing that it will end up doing after we press finish here is it'll ask you to wait until it's finished. You'll press the key to continue, and then it will go ahead and install USI right here. USI PC prep procedure is complete, and it will have placed a USI file on your oh, and you don't see that happening here, but it actually created a USI folder as well. So if we navigate back up to the C drive, my computer C drive, you'll now see a brand new USI folder, and in there it puts a downloads folder inside of it for you to use. Okay, so if we go back up, let's go back to my CD folder here, and the PC prep. So now what happens is there's also a miscellaneous folder right here, and inside the miscellaneous folder there are a few files in here, but the two that are the necessary ones that you should have inside of your miscellaneous folder are the disk1 ID and the XWPDL ID. And these two have to do with NFS, the NFS server license. They are the license files for the version or the server package that we have given to you on this system CD, and it's unique to your computer. Now, really quick, what these are really brief here, what these different programs will do for you. The TerraTerm application, and here's the shortcut for TerraTerm, and it doesn't look like it placed a shortcut for the NFS on this particular. So I'm going to go down to my program folder. I'm going to navigate to the latest Pro NFS. You'll see it on your, so the last two things I installed, Pro NFS, and come down here, and you can launch the NFS server from there, or you can place a shortcut of it on your desktop. Okay, now what the NFS server and what TerraTerm are, the NFS server is a software server that is used specifically for placing information on here. It does it by itself, but we place information on here during upgrades and during moments when you're sending the encoding possibly from our script files, which we're going to go over on another training video. But it's used for when these applications need to send or retrieve information. Well, actually, it's more sending information. So anytime you send programming, or you're doing upgrades, or you're doing batch file things from the USI folder that we'll talk about later, it uses this to store that information and then parse it out to the different devices as needed. This is very important because it actually saves using up very precious RAM space and memory space on the devices. It uses this, and that keeps your system running at its optimal performance. So when your SC4 is running and you want to send information to it, if we didn't have this, we would have had to design our CPUs and all of our devices that use programming with this portion that we're using in a software server, and then that would cause sluggishness. It might cause your system to actually need to be down during moments when you're sending encoding or programming to those devices. So this is a location, like a scratchpad location, where the information is stored and then sent during that programming so that your system can continue to run without any interference. Okay, now you'll need to have this running anytime you program from the Yukon software, send the programming to the SC4 from that software, or anytime that you use the USI script files that we'll talk about later for retrieving and sending information to the devices. Okay, normally I'll launch it and I'll just click right here, left click right inside this box so that you can show this on the system taskbar and then hide it. And it actually shows up down in the lower right corner in the system tray rather than on your lower taskbar at the bottom. Now the TerraTerm application is a glorified hyperterminal, if you're familiar with hyperterminal. It's a very good terminal emulator that allows you to do more than just diagnostics use from any device. You can log in directly to that device using a telnet address, as you saw me do here a little bit earlier when I was retrieving information from the SC4, or you can hook up to it serially, which would then require you to be plugged in to the device serial port and over to this computer that you're hooked up to on one of the 4 COM ports. And in either case, once you're logged into that specific device, you'll then be able to see the information from that device in diagnostics mode. And you'll be able to look at config files and run other commands, and these will also be found in another training video. But this is just a terminal program that is used. You'll use it very often if you're looking at any internal information from config files, or again for doing any command line functions. Now, another use for this is it actually has, I'm not connected to anything right now, but it actually has up here the ability to log everything that you do on this session. So if you were to turn on this log and give it a name of some sort, call it test or whatever, and then place it, and then have that placed anywhere you would like it, if you want it on your desktop or what have you, then when you open that file, you'll be able to, as soon as you open that file, it'll minimize that, place it at the bottom of your screen, and then everything that you do on the screen here will be logged into that file. So all the terminal commands and everything that you perform from here will be stored in that log file that you can look at it later for information, or just to keep track of whatever you're doing. Okay, so that's what the TerraTerm application is. Now, TerraTerm is also required on your computer for when we do batch file functions from the USI folder that we'll talk about here later. It actually runs macros or scripts through the TerraTerm. That's how they were designed. So it's a very useful application. And here's that test file that I had just opened and sent that information to. So we'll just go ahead and delete that. And that's how that would end up working. So that's how the PC prep works. And its sole intention is to install these programs for you so that you don't have to wonder what you have to have on your computer. So you can place this on any operating, or well, pretty much any operating system. But you can also place it on any computer in your facility. The only requirement is that, or the only rule is that when you run the NFS server, it will only allow that license to be ran on one computer at a time. So you'll have an alarm come up on you if you try to run this in multiple locations. So you just turn it off on one computer and run it on another. But generally, you're only doing one thing at a time to the Utah devices anyway.